Greetings, everyone that's here tonight for our second meeting. We started at 5:30. Now we're at our 7:08 regular meeting. We welcome those that are in attendance, and we welcome those that are viewing us live stream. I'm calling the meeting to order. Please stand for the invocation from Pastor Jason Todd. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, tonight we pause to ask for wisdom. Guide every conversation here tonight, every decision, every plan discussed. Grant clarity where there is complexity, unity where there is disagreement, and humility above all in every heart here. Direct the leaders of this town with discernment and integrity. Help us to seek the good of our community above our own, and to act with justice, compassion, and courage that reflects your character. God, may what is said and done here honor you in everything and bless this community. Let us stay true to the name of this town and provide hope for every citizen that calls Hope Mills home. Help us to love them as you do in everything that we do. And Lord, and as I close, I ask that you keep your hand of protection upon every service man and woman that is standing in the gap right now in this perilous time of conflict. Lord, that you would uphold what they are doing and bring every one of them home safely, Lord. And we thank you for what they provide. And Lord, we just acknowledge you here tonight and just sit among us and guide everything that we do here. And I ask in your holy and precious name, amen.
Before we get going, I apologize tonight. I don't have a tie on. I will tell you why. It's because the town manager and I, we were at the city a few hours ago at a fast meeting. So it went a little bit later than we thought. And we'll get into that, the details of it. But he had to come back here, and then I had to just jet out of there, go back to campus, and then I ended up here. So that's the reason why I don't have one on tonight, is because I was at the city fast meeting. So I just wanted to say that. Item number 1, approval agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, agenda is approved as presented. Official comments, managers' reports on the screen. Chancellor, do the dance.
Thank you, Mayor, fellow commissioners, people in the audience, and everyone streaming from home. The March 2nd Manager's Report is probably the biggest one ever. I think we're at 14 pages. First page, we definitely want to highlight our school resource officers. Every time I talk to someone that's an educator or a principal at one of our 7 schools, they always give kudos to what our officers are doing. They're not just there providing security, they actually are engaging our kids. Spring litter sweep and community yard sale is moving forward. I also have highlighting the homelessness committee in terms of anyone wanting to get involved to make an impact. Second page is tied to the many things our firemen and our police departments are doing. Our fire chief spoke at the most recent Kiwanis Club meeting. Our police officers partnered with Dreams for All Foundation, Off-Road Outreach, and Veteran Services of Carolina, who donated 25 mattresses to our police officers. The next page is the next 3 pages are dedicated specifically to committees. We were talking at our last board meeting. Our mayor challenged me to actually highlight the committee. So what you have here is a breakdown of what each committee is mandated to do, where they meet, and how often they meet. And it's meant so that the general public can get an idea of what area that you could possibly get involved in to contribute, from veterans to appearances to history to art, culture. There's so many different things that you can do as a citizen to volunteer your time to help make an impact. And so our Board of Adjustments on the first page: historic preservation, prime movers, Parks and Rec advisory, veteran affairs, cultural arts, homelessness, economic development, which is my favorite, and the Appearance Commission. So those are our committees. Anyone interested in finding out what the vacancies are, if they're interested in joining one of those committees, please contact our town clerk. And is Mr. Holland available? I'm going to read this in its entirety, and I am formally announcing that our grand poobah of the town's money is officially retiring from the town of Hope Mills. And I read into the record a brief bio about Drew Holland. A native of Fuquay Varina and Holly Springs area, southern Wake County, he spent his childhood moving across the country as the son of an Air Force serviceman. He finished his high school in Fuquay Varina before going on to earn his bachelor's of business administration and accounting from Campbell University in May of 1991. While in college, he began working with the accounting firm of Dennis Duke, PA, CPA in Fuquay Varina. In 1995, he joined the finance department at RBL&W Advertising Agency in Raleigh, North Carolina. He began his career in local government in November 1997 with the town of Holly Springs as the finance operations manager and was promoted to finance director in 1999. In July 2014, he became finance director of the city of Dunn, and in January 2016, he accepted the position of finance director at the greatest town in the universe. During his tenure here in Hope Mills, he has streamlined the budget process, launched the community investment plan, which is our CIP, implemented new financial software, and led the town to earn the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting every year since 2019. I will say that again. The Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting every year since 2019, among any other accomplishments over the past decade. He currently resides on a 42-acre farm in southern Wake County with his wife. They have two married daughters, one in Raleigh and one in New York City, and are excited to welcome their first grandson in early June. I think Drew Holland is owed a standing ovation for his time and dedication to the town of Hope Mills. All right, next we have, I think we can officially announce Camden Commons is officially under construction. People think that it's the Target site. That is the site of Target, but people may not realize Target is the anchor tenant. On this slide is the overall site plan of the entire 80 acres of commercial development. The first phase of it, the developer of Target is proposing over 335,000 square feet of retail space in phase one alone. This is by far the largest commercial development in the history of the town. If you were to look at Millstone or Traymore, this is about 5 times the size of that development. And so this will add a significant amount. I think if I counted all the out parcels, there's about 26 additional commercial out parcels in addition to Target alone on this piece of property. So you have the elevations, the overall site plan, and I did take some additional photographs. Another project that is ready to go is the Hive of Hope Mills. This is something different. If you are familiar, we talked about the food truck stop in Haymount. This is a little different because it's a community center. It's tied to kids. It's tied to families. They have an area, open patio for bands. I did speak at one of our recent managers reports where they have spots for 7 food trucks, but they did something unique where they laid the electrical lines underground, so you won't hear those loud generator sounds that you typically hear with food trucks, which is essential because it is a couple residents on the street. But Kevin Grant, who also owns Autotech, is the owner. He has officially notified us that he's partnering with Big T's, who will be the actual anchor food provider in this facility because it also serves as a food hall and an actual commissary for other food trucks. So it has its own commercial kitchen in it that they'll be serving out of, but you'll have 7 options for other food trucks. And we are ready to announce that we have officially moved the Juneteenth to this location. And so this will be something that will be very big. We did talk to Dirtbag Els, who was actually gracious enough to come on as a partner with us at this location. And so we're hoping that when this is open, I think we're trying to coordinate this week for a walkthrough with the mayor, Parks and Rec Director Lamarca Morris, and myself to view the facility. But it is ready to open. He has sent me a drone video that he wants me to share on the government page on tomorrow morning. And so I definitely wanted to take this time to highlight him in the manager's report. The next thing we have is Heritage Park. I did this highlight just so we can announce officially that we did submit for the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund grant. I know that came up at one of his, at the previous presentation. So about the lake park, but as it relates to Heritage Park, Phase 2, we've already gotten 500,000 in a part for Phase 2. We have another 21,000 from Cumberland County Foundation, but we just applied last week for an additional 519,000 from the LWCF fund. That will go a great deal in reducing the overall cost of the construction of this Phase 2 of the project. Next page are all the activities going on in Parks and Rec. They have a mental health workshop. This is what I was talking about, where there's so many powerful things they're offering through Parks and Rec, from trucks and stuff to mental health workshops. We have a meeting tomorrow where we're actually planning, I don't know if Tiandra's going to get mad at me, but we are planning a youth and young adult mental health summit in May. And so there's some very powerful things that Parks and Rec that they're doing. Next page is still dedicated to Parks and Rec. If you recall, we did have the vandalism with the basketball court. We are well underway. I think Lamarco said about 2 weeks we should be able to reopen that well in advance of the spring weather. I am actually in communication with the Juvenile Justice Department, Cumberland County Courthouse, who is tracking the case with us as well. And so they're giving us updates on that. The next page is the Chamber of Commerce, the Women Mean Business. I am trying to get a ticket for a male, but I have been told that we are not allowed to attend. But I do think that is something very powerful that the Chamber of Commerce is doing. If you were to go on their page to see who the guest speakers are, they have some of the most powerful women in our area speaking. I think this is the second or third year that they've done it. And so this is something that is picking up steam. And yeah, if you're interested, we did send out an email to the board. If you guys are interested, we do want to support the chamber by purchasing a table, but it is actually only open to Commissioner Trammell and Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Hamilton. But we would like to see if there is an interest in us attending that event. I do think that's something that we should support. And customarily, the last 2 pages are NCDOT updates. If you watched the press release we did last week when we had to shut down Town Hall on Friday, they are transitioning to Rockfish Road, so they are actually making some progress. And if you look at that wall over there, you probably can't see it from here, but those are some of the renderings of the roundabout. So I'm going to highlight that in the next one. But if you see that rendering with all those plantings and that tree in the middle, that's what our roundabouts will look like. And so it's something that we're very excited for people to see, because right now it's just construction. When they're finished and you see the grass strips and the acorn lighting and the historic lighting and the plantings, it is going to anchor this site in a great and impactful way. But that does conclude the manager's report for the March 2nd Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Before I get to the other board members, I do want to comment that the town manager's report, as you can see, is now up to 12.
14.
Or 14, sorry, 14 pages. See, it grows two pages every board meeting. In prior town board meetings, we have always included this in our agenda packets. It has become so big now and so voluminous that we've dedicated a separate web page, a separate link on our web page just for this report. We print it out. It's also on the screen. We send this also to our legislative delegation. So in future managers' report to come, you'll be able to go on the town website if you're not here in person or live stream, and you'll be able to see not only this one, but the ones past. This tells our story. And look at the ones past about all of the different projects that has been accomplished in our town. It's really historical. It truly, truly is. So I just kind of wanted to point that out tonight. We'll start off with board member comments with Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to welcome everybody this evening. It's good to see a few more people here tonight, and we'll try to make it as quick as we can. Thank you.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to take this time to say to everyone, while we are in these trying and stressful times with our nation is taking action that they did, as president of the Veterans of Cumberland County, I want any families that is impacted by this to know that we stand in there ready to support you. You're not alone, and that's what we're there for. No matter what it may be, how small or how big, reach out to us and we will put you in contact with someone that can assist you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to welcome everybody as well. I only have one thing for the manager, looking at the manager's report. I know it's short notice. I don't know if we can do anything, but when we do open the basketball courts back up, is there a possibility of maybe doing some type of event like was held last time? They did like a community event. I know they did like, had the bus out there doing the free haircuts.
I do think that I'll have Mr. Morrison reach out to Vic Blends. I do know he was very hurt when this happened, and this is something very personal to him. So I don't think that he would probably have an issue if we were to try to arrange some type of
I'd like
reopening.
to see us do some kind of, like you said,
Yeah.
reopening of the basketball
agree.
court, just to show just show everybody that you can damage it, but you can't stop it.
I agree. We'll get right on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Tremmel.
Good evening. I want to welcome everyone that's here and everybody that's online, and just remind everybody, tomorrow, go vote.
Yep. Mayor Pro Tem Hope Page.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for everyone coming in tonight and all those that are streaming. Also, just wanted to say, just in piggybacking on the trying times that our nation is in, that we, to ask to keep all military family and their members in prayer. And I also want to share something that I learned this past weekend about leadership. Leadership is about posture, not position. It is built on character, demonstrated through quality, sustained by confidence, which is loud, which is not loud, but anchored. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to welcome Katie tonight. If you're looking over here and you look for Dan, he's not here. The better person between the two is here tonight. It's been some time since she's been here, but nonetheless, we welcome her back. I'd like to also welcome Joanne for being here, and all those that are in the audience and those by live stream. I'm going to say something that touches me, is that I hope that we keep our thoughts and prayers with the families of the 6 servicemen service members that were killed in action. As we have our meeting tonight in a safe room, there are many service members that are in the Middle East in this operation that's ongoing. I wish I could say there would be no more casualties, but I can't say that. What I can say is we should stand by and support every service member there. Those of us combat veterans know that touch and know that feeling. So, I mentioned earlier I didn't have a tie on because we went to a FAST meeting today. This is how close we are. We're probably as close now to public transportation in Hope Mills than we have ever been in years. And that's a big shout out to you, former Mayor Pro Tem Kimwana McCray, because she championed this cause for 6 years. So today was the survey meeting at the city. It was their working meeting. I had the minutes from that, not minutes, but the agenda from that, where the FAST team presented the options to the city council, and they approved to continue on with the survey. So where does this go from here? The next stages of this, they will look at certain routes and times, and then we're looking at how to implement that under a 3-year pilot. So this is amazing. And any time that, and all of you know, I'm a regional guy. I look at things regionally. It should be a regional transportation system in Cumberland County. And I say regional, not just one municipality. There are 9 of us. So we were there to represent not only the town of Hope Mills, we were also there to represent the town of Spring Lake as well, because Mayor Anthony is at a advanced training. Tomorrow we have land use plan here. That's another document that's been in play for months. I mean, months. When we look at the land use plan, this is a copy of what we're going to be discussing tomorrow with all the stakeholders that will provide feedback into the land use plan. If the board's got any time tomorrow, it'll be 2 o'clock. It's always open. So that's going to wrap up somewhere going into the summer. Board retreat's Friday. That's all day. See, going down. It's interesting that today there's been a lot of discussion about data centers in Cumberland County. A lot of discussion. I went to one of the meetings. I know Chancellor's been to one of the meetings at the Economic Development site. It's interesting today that on the city agenda, the City Council requests data center policy direction to the city manager to research and present options, and that was placed on their agenda. The way that I understand how this is going to work is that the county is going to draft a policy, and it will be up to the municipalities whether they endorse that policy or take parts and pieces from it regarding a data center. So on one hand, I appreciate companies looking at Cumberland County, but on the other hand, data centers can generate a lot of resources. Maybe that's the word, is the resources. Late Friday is one of the last things, and I got to send this out to the board because I just got it myself. Late Friday, we got a request from Representative Rauscher's office for community project funding. I have a copy of it, and I'll make sure that the board gets a copy of what our community project request will be for this coming year. We have shovel-ready projects, and LaMarco stood up here and was talking about those earlier, about how we're going to draft up requests, and this brings in our grant writer, Ingrid, who has been very, very instrumental in helping us apply for a number of grants. We've got a short runway here over, 16 days, Chancellor? We got a short runway of 16 days to package up and put this together. You can read it. In fact, I'll just hand it out. of put this, our number one project together of what we're going to request from federal funding. And we've got a dedicated team to do that. We have projects that's been ready for over a year. All we have to do is update the slides, make sure that we've got the right information, and I'll make sure that I get this email out to the board prior to that. Of course, we have our next meeting March 16th. We'll have an update there on exactly what project we're pushing forward. And we'll talk about it at the retreat on Friday, all of them. But it's really timely that this request came in at this time when we're trying to package up a budget that we're trying to put together in May. We have our legislative delegation reception is Thursday, where our legislative folks will meet, and that's going to be a really nice event. And of course, you know, it's always a meet and greet, but what do I do with these things? I always beg for money. I do, truly. Last thing, Planet Fitness, ribbon cutting, Wednesday, high noon. If you want to come down to Planet Fitness, that's where we're going to cut the ribbon on high noon on Wednesday. I think that's it for me. Yep, that is. Item 3, presentations, proclamation, recognizing National Women's History Month under tab 1. I will ask the Mayor Pro Tem if she would like to read the proclamation.
National Women's History Month proclamation. During Women's History Month, we celebrate the countless women who have fought tirelessly and courageously for equality, justice, and opportunity in our nation. We also reaffirm our commitment to advancing rights and opportunities for women and girls in the United States and around the world. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women have served in our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolishment movement and emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all.
Now, therefore, I, Jesse Bellflowers, Mayor of the town of Hope Mills, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim March 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2026 as National Women's History Month in the town of Hope Mills, and urge all to use this time to celebrate, proclaim this second day of March. I will add to this that since the birth of our great nation, and that would be 250 years, women have been the backbone of this country in any and every endeavor. And just think tonight, our military, men and women, are on that front lines defending American freedom. And I just wanted to say that if you look at any cause for the past 250 years, it's something to celebrate this month. Item B, proclamation recognizing National School Breakfast Week. That's under tab 2. I will ask Commissioner Trimmel to read that one.
Town of Hope Mills proclamation, National School Breakfast Week, March 2nd through March 6, 2026. Whereas the school breakfast program has served our nation admirably since it was permanently established in 1975 and reaches some 15 million children across 91,000 schools and institutions in the United States each day. And whereas the school breakfast program meets the nutritional needs of children, improves food security, and advances child health and well-being by providing nutritionally balanced breakfasts to school children each day. And whereas school-age children who experience hunger are more likely to be absent from school, visit the school nurse, and experience more challenges than children with a nutritious diet, and skipping breakfast has consistently been linked with worse academic and health outcomes for children. And whereas the town of Hope Mills is committed to bringing awareness in order to expand access to and enhance current school breakfast programs to ensure that our children have the means to succeed.
Therefore, be it resolved that I, Jesse Bellflowers, Mayor of the Town of Hope Mills, do hereby proclaim March 2nd through March 6, 2026 as National School Breakfast Week, and encourage all residents of Hope Mills to recognize and commemorate school administrators, food service directors, and cafeteria staff who operate school breakfast programs that ensure the health, safety, and success of our children, proclaimed this second day of March 2026. I know what school cafeterias are because when I was in high school myself, that's where I worked. I worked in a cafeteria, and that's been a few years ago, but that was very valuable for me to have that experience. Next item is item C, proclamation recognizing Town Charter Day under tab 3. Yes, it is. It is March 9th, 2026, whereas our town's founding fathers, in order to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their prosperity, established an act to incorporate the town of Hope Mills, and whereas it was ratified March 9th, 1891, you can see the seal behind me, and signed into law by the Secretary of State W.L. Saunders in Raleigh, March 31st, 1891, and whereas 2026 marks the 135th anniversary since the town's incorporation, and the Board of Commissioners wishes to observe this anniversary. Now, therefore, I, Jesse Bellflowers, Mayor of the Town of Hope Mills, do hereby proclaim March 9th, 2026 to be the Town Charter Day, proclaimed the second day of March 2026. If you look at that back wall up top, you'll see all the pictures of past mayors, to include the bottom row, Mayor Deaver, Mayor Dees, and Mayor Jackie Warner. But those mayors, the pictures have all been instrumental throughout these 135 years of our town. And it's an honor for all of us to represent our town on this 135th anniversary. Public hearing, that's item number 4. ZNG-01325, rezoning of 0.68 plus or minus acres from R15 to R7.5 residential district within town limits or more restrictive zoning for the undeveloped area located at 0 Legion Road, the empty lot at the southwest corner of Brower Trail and Legion Road, REID 04147 4917 3000, submitted by MAP Surveying on behalf of Seawalk LLC owners. That's under tab 4. Xavier, I think you're going to brief us.
Good evening. So today, like the mayor said, we'll be looking at case ZNG 013-25, and it's a rezoning request to R75 residential district. So the Town of Hope Mills staff received a request to rezone 0.6 acres of land from R15 residential to R7.5 residential district located at 0 Legion Road, which is the empty lot at the southwest corner of Brower Trail and Legion Road. The parcel identification number is 0414749173, and the subject property is adjacent to developed residential properties. Towards the front, left, and rear of the property, there is Clifton Forest subdivision, and across the street from the subject property, there is Brook Ridge subdivision. Access will most likely come from Brower Trail, and the Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan calls for low-density residential. This request does fall within the current guidelines of the Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan. Here is an aerial view of the subject property in question. So as you see, you can have Clifton Forest subdivision, Brook Ridge subdivision, and also an undeveloped lot. And right here, you can see another aerial view of the subject property. So it was submitted by MAP Surveying on behalf of Suick LLC. And like said before, it's a rezone request to R7.5 residential district of 0.6 acres. Here is the photo of the utilities, and as you can see, it has access to water and sewer from Legion Road and also from Broward Trail. The current zoning of the subject property is R15 residential. And right here, it shows the future land use, which calls for low density residential, which this request is compliant. Here are some photos of the subject property. And if there's no questions, I suggest the floor be open.
Town board have any questions before we open public hearing?
Motion to open public hearing.
Second? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of ZNG-013-25? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of ZNG-013-25? Seeing none, is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition of ZNG-013-25? Last time. Anyone that wants to speak in opposition of ZNG-013-25? Seeing none, to have a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close.
Motion, second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, public hearing is closed. Do we have an action?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve ZNG-013-25 for the rezoning request as R7.5 residential district and finds that the request is consistent with the Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan 2013 designating this property. The requested R7.5 will complement the current and future vision of the town of Hope Mills. The surrounding properties are also zoned residential. Though they are R15, rezoning the property to R7.5 will still comply with the 2013 Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan, which calls for low-density residential. Approval of the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the district requested complements the development of adjacent parcels in the surrounding area.
Have a motion to have a second? Second. Have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, public comments. Okay. This is the public comment period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I think everybody knows what the rules are. So, first one is Carleen Bailey. You gotta cut that mic on.
Hit the button.
Just, there you go.
I have been a resident of Hope Mills since 2018. I actually came here from California. Don't hold that against me. And I specifically moved to Hope Mills for certain reasons, and it was the loving atmosphere, the just welcoming atmosphere that was here, a small town feel. And I commend the changes that are being made for progression. But I am here to speak on behalf of a group of individuals that cannot speak for themselves. I'm a registered nurse by profession. I work for Cape Fear Valley Hospice House on Legion Road. I have been in the medical profession for 48 years. I'm a certified hospice and palliative care nurse, and in my spare time, I work with the homeless population that is both here in Hope Mills, and I want to say that one more time, that is here in Hope Mills and is also in Cumberland County just in general. And we all know, this is not news to any of us, that this is a situation that is growing because of our economy. And we all have people that we love. We have sons, we have daughters, we have husbands, wives, grandchildren, that were they to face the situation that some of these individuals are facing, it would be a devastating thing. And I would hope and pray that if I ever found someone I loved in this situation, that there would be people that could have a compassionate outlook. I would pray that there would be a town body that would have a compassionate outlook on trying to do, and I'm going to quote you, Grilly, because what you said is a wonderful thing, that we would have the compassion to want to give a hand up and not just a hand out. The measure of a society is reflected in how it treats its weakest and most vulnerable members. It's something that we hear often. It's a maximum that regards justice, compassion, and it's a sentiment that actually highlights society's true strengths that lie in protecting those most vulnerable, elderly, and impoverished. And I commend the steps you have already taken as a board to address that, such as the transportation. I'm here with a couple of colleagues, Miss Connie, who is also a resident of Hope Mills, and this is Chris, and I call him P because I can't say his last name, who attends church at Kingdom Church with me, who works in Hope Mills doing outreach with the homeless and less fortunate people of Hope Mills. We go into the camps. We go behind the sheds where people have set up their tents, and we seek to give that hand up. Oh, my time's up already. So I'm just here on their behalf. I want you to continue. I want to be the anchor to your heart right now as a board, but also I want to turn and I want to look at our community. And I want to say I want it to be anchored in your hearts as well, because I know this is a problem that's not pretty. I know that this is a problem that causes a lot of issues for us as residents. I want to commend Deputy Chief Brayboy, and there's an officer recently that went out for a couple of homeless situations, Officer Vickers, who acted with love and compassion, but it's going to take more than just saying we have love and compassion. Okay, so I thank you for the time, and I'm also on the committee for homelessness, and we want to make sure that we hold all of us accountable for making sure that we are that society that speaks, this is what we're made of. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlene. Karen? Welcome back.
My name is Karen Saracen. My address is 5532 Rising Ridge Drive, Hope Mills, North Carolina. We all know the zip code. I'm also here today to speak about the Homeless Committee. And I originally, I don't have anything written, that's all by the top of my head. I originally wrote a FOIA request back in December because it was brought to my attention that for Thanksgiving, the encampment on Gillespie Street on 301 Walmart was served food and toiletries by the Hope Mills Homeless Committee. So I requested the information, the emails, because I saw the pictures. I saw the pictures. And I was trying to figure out how the Homeless Committee for Hope Mills was in Fayetteville with our citizens and our tax dollars going into Fayetteville and feeding that homeless. And when I read through the minutes, that was the plan all along. They were planning it for months to go to that encampment. There was a transition house that they were supposed to be feeding, but the location of the transition house I could not find in the records. So I did the Freedom of Information Act. I read through it, and I was like, well, the town knows. So I didn't do anything any further with it. Then when the agenda came out, and I saw that for new business, consideration and approval of a storage location for the homeless committee, I was like, okay, wait a minute. As most of you know, I'm on the HPC, and we had a storage unit that for a long time we were told, get your stuff out, we don't have room for it, if you don't get it out, we're gonna sell it, or it's gonna be donated somewhere else, you gotta get rid of it. And that's not our personal stuff, that's town artifacts, historical artifacts, that we, as volunteers, as a committee, had to get it out because they needed the storage unit. So I don't really think that a storage unit for the homeless committee, if our committee can't have it, I don't understand how another committee can have it who is serving other communities, not even our community. I also am a nurse for over 40 years. I've had a service heart for many years. I've also worked with this gentleman several times volunteering at the Alms House. I've met the unfortunate, drug-addicted, malnourished citizens, and they will tell you if they need housing. They will tell you if they're homeless. If there's homeless people, they will say, this guy's homeless, can you help him? How many, Grilly, do you know how many homeless are in this town?
I don't know 7 that I know that's actually homeless. They are homeless by choice.
So 7. So how many's on the committee? So there's probably more people on the committee than actual homeless. I think that the homeless committee needs to be rebranded, because it's almost, in reading the documents from the Freedom of Information Act, it's almost as if you're trying to recreate the wheel. Homelessness is not going, it's a global issue, not a Hope Mills issue. It's very global. And looking in here, Grilly has been doing the Alms House for many, many years. I've volunteered there. Hope has volunteered there. Jesse has volunteered there. Brian, I know you know where it is. I'm not sure if you volunteered there or not. But, and nowhere does it say. They've gone to Spring Lake to get some resources. They've gone to Raleigh to get resources. They've gone, I contacted the COC today to find out how many homeless there are in Hope Mills. You know what they told me? Do you know who Grilly Mitchell is? Call him. It probably needs to be rebranded, because I don't really, I think when you're starting a new committee, organization, you have to start really, really small. And by trying to take on a homeless situation that is global, you're going to be spinning your wheels.
Karen, I gotta stop you there. I've given you a lot of latitude, but the shelter item is coming up in new business later on in the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No. You can, now, when the item comes up, which is coming up in new business, consideration and approval, I will ask Commissioner Hamilton, who is the liaison, to begin that discussion, and then she'll be able to ask if that's, and then Deanna Roy, who's the chair. So that'll be some time for discussion at that time. Ron, you're next.
Ron Gasiniak, 4364 Dominique Street, Hope Mills, North Carolina, 28348. How y'all doing?
Welcome back,
Hey,
Ron.
so over the weekend,
Welcome back.
hey, appreciate it, been traveling, running around. So over the weekend, it was brought to my attention that our Hope Mills credit card number was online, the expiration date was online, and the security code was online. I went and looked myself, so I paid my taxes. I went ahead and used the town's credit card. I'm kidding, I did not do that, but it was all there. The credit card, everything was there. I went in today, and it's been taken down. So our town's credit card, with all the information, expiration date, the whole 9 yards, was out online all weekend. I was always taught, keep an honest man honest. That's not keeping an honest man honest right there. You talked extensively at the beginning of this meeting about the federal funding coming up. You gotta get your slides straight, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. But what about our tax money right here? What about putting the credit card all the way out there? Is anybody gonna be held accountable for anything, any mishaps that go on in this town? Anything? Is anybody gonna take accountability for the credit card and all the information being put there online?
Ron, where was it located? Because I didn't see it.
It's tab 7. Tab 7 of your, yeah, tab 7. Now, it's right here, pulled back up, it's been corrected. So this has been corrected since the weekend.
Okay.
It's right here, to the shredding company. Let's see here, well, tab, whatever you guys are doing with a shredding company. And also on that invoice, on that contract, they got a $10 fuel fee on there because fuels went up by 126% in the last 12 months. Why are we paying for that? It has not went up 126% in 12 months. It's went down. So who's ever negotiating these contracts, whoever can negotiating these contracts needs to look at that. It's right there in plain sight. So is anything going to happen? Are we going to do anything about it? Or is it just going to just go away like everything else?
Thank you, Ron.
All right, y'all have a good one. See y'all
very much.
16th. Next meeting is the 16th?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. That concludes public comments. Move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Number 6, consent agenda, items A, B, C, and D. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, consent agenda is approved as presented. That ends the consent agenda. We go to item 7, discussion. First item is A, Hope Mills Board of Commissioners Rules and Procedures recommended updates under tab 8. Before we get into this, I want to share something. I want to establish something called board expectations. I think maybe this is the time to talk about ourselves and how we communicate with each other with dignity and respect, and how we, as elected officials, communicate with our town staff. So, I guess what I'm going to ask here, before we get into the rules and procedures, because they belong to us. We write them. They've been long practiced through numerous boards who has tweaked something here and there, but nonetheless, they've been here for quite some time. As in March 5th, 2018. But I think an issue that we have too is how we communicate with each other. I would like to say that I know that we're a new board and that we're still in what I call the honeymoon phase. And I say that genuinely as we're trying to learn each other's personality. But I think when we communicate with each other, dignity and respect goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Especially not only between us as the governing body, but between a dedicated, exceptional staff that will support this board in every way that they can. So if I'm going to bang something here as mayor, because of my position, maybe it's time, and you guys have read some of my emails. I have sent out several where I have said we need to tap the brakes and take a breath. Some of this started over some rules of procedure. So I'm going to caution us tonight to be respectful of each other and to treat each other with dignity and respect, to include our staff. I'm going to say this, and then we'll move on from it. But sometimes we have to tap the brakes and take a breath. These are professional people that work for this town, that serve our community, that provide services to almost 19,000 people. We may have disagreements. We often will. But I always say this, everything that comes at us in a neutral state. It's how we respond, positive or negative, that defines our character. And just as people are sitting here tonight watching us live, there are many people that are watching us on a live stream. There are people that are looking at us as businesses, commercial, industrial, residential people that are looking to make Hope Mills a home. I'm just going to say this and then we'll move on, because it bothers me a little bit, because we are professionals. We are elected, all of us are elected to this term by the people of the town of Hope Mills. And I would encourage all of us to respectfully be professional when we communicate with each other. And moreover, our staff. Okay, Hope Mills Board of Commissioners Rules and Procedures, Recommended Updates, tab 8. Do we have any changes, or do we have any discussion about our rules and procedure?
I do, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton,
I have a couple, if that's all right.
go ahead.
I was going over, of course, like you ask us to make ourselves familiar with the rules of procedure. So I noticed rule number 10, special meetings. And I think we probably need to remove that one if it's okay with the board. I'll read a little bit of it. At least 48 hours before a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners, notice of the date, time, place, and purpose of the meeting shall be posted on Board of Commissioners principal bulletin board, or if the Board of Commissioners has no such board, at the door of the Board of Commissioners usual meeting room, and delivered email or mailed to each newspaper, wire service, radio station. So it goes on to say that if when we have a special meeting, it's required to be posted on the door and mailed out to everybody, which I don't think we do. So I don't know if we need to have that on there or not.
That language is a bit outdated,
Exactly.
but the requirements are still the same. So the 48 hours is a statutory requirement. It being posted on the bulletin board is a statutory requirement, which does happen in the back bulletin board and on the front doors. So the language about it being sent snail mail, if you will, you guys can remove that. There's no detriment one way or the other, but what happens in lieu of that is it goes out via email.
Electronically, yeah, right.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Commissioner
I
Mitchell?
wasn't,
and I'm-
Oh, wait a minute, hold on, let him respond, then I'll get back to you.
I would like to recommend that we take the rules and procedure with us, and we all go and review them, so that we can come back and collectively have an informed discussion about it. What we want to be add or remove to it, because I don't think any of us have taken, I looked at them, but then again, now that you brought to light, that's something that we probably missed. I think it'd be prudent for us to go back and review it and look at it, and then share it back with everybody, and then get it to Dan like we always have done, so he can review it and make sure that we're in compliance.
So what you're asking, and I'll get back to you, Commissioner Hamilton,
okay.
is that you're asking the board, let me make sure I get the whole thing here,
It's rule number 10.
which I have.
We just reviewed the whole thing.
I'll get there. So you would like the entire board to look at the entire rules and procedure packet.
Yes.
Well, that's what you had recommended that we do.
Yeah, all pages, all the way down to rule number 41,
Right.
which is 18 pages.
There's
So-
only a few things that I found on there, most of the other ones that we're doing, like rule number 14. Plus, we need to talk about the electronic voting.
Yep. So let me ask you this. Has any board member went through the entire,
I went through it, but I don't remember this stuff, so I have to go back and do it again.
okay?
I know it's kind of boring. I mean,
Okay.
to sit here and talk about it.
So is it open for us to make decisions tonight, or do you want to bring it back March 16th?
I don't wanna make a decision tonight. I wanna go back and review it again, and then just take my time and go through it, so I can make sure that I make a sound decision.
Okay?
Mayor,
Wait a minute, Commissioner Trimble?
I actually read it through twice and have notes made of what I'd like to see changes, very little, especially about the agenda, which we already kind of talked about, so I've already been through it
Okay?
twice.
And the same with me. I mean, there's very, very little that I think we need to really look at as a board.
Okay. Commissioner Marley? Okay?
I mean, really, try me, I didn't know there was a problem. This is news to me that, I mean, that people have issue. I mean, I guess, I don't know, I don't really have a problem.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm with Commissioner Marley.
Mayor, according to the packet, there, it says, discussion to approve recommended updates at the March 16th meeting. So it says on here, we're not,
Oh, okay.
we're not,
And that's
we're not
kind of
doing
what I
anything
was
to March
trying to steer
16th.
toward.
Perfect.
I was trying to steer that way,
Okay, good.
was that, tonight was just a discussion about some of the changes, but to make sure, and I know everybody's got this because you got it in your binders,
Right.
is that when we come back March 16th,
We'll be ready.
we'll come back with our recommended changes at that point.
Perfect.
The one big thing is that we know that the full agenda packet will go out on Wednesday before March 16th meeting. We had discussed that earlier.
Right.
We have a consensus about it, so that's not going to change, that each board member has until the end of Tuesday to submit any additions that you want to the agenda, but once it goes out on Wednesday, it's locked until Monday night, the 16th, and then when we meet, we can do additions or deletions to the agenda at that point.
Sounds good.
I would, Mayor, I would
Mr.
ask that the commissioners that have, issue or have, questions or suggestions, to put it in an email and send it out to everybody so everybody can see your questions and your proposals before the next meeting.
I think that's an excellent idea. Can the board support that?
Consensus, yes.
Can the board support that? Because
I do.
this belongs to us.
It does. I just don't want there to be another issue with emails.
There'll be no issue with emails.
Well, as long as it's opinions and suggestions and recommendations. But when we go on there and do other actions, then we have an optic.
For me, it's for the sake of time at the next meeting,
Yes.
because if we wait till the next meeting for you to bring in 3 changes and 3 changes and 2 changes, and then we gotta sit here and discuss all of them. If we know ahead of time, we can have that worked out, and we can come in here
And that's what we had talked about before. But when I looked at the discussion, it says Hope Mills Board of Commissioners Rules and Procedures recommended updates. I didn't see anything referenced the 16th of March, so that's why I was bringing it up tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we good.
16th is when we're gonna do it.
Okay.
All right,
All right, we're moving on.
all right, sounds good.
May
All
I
right.
make a suggestion for clarity?
Wait a minute. Katie?
I apologize for interrupting. For clarity, if there are proposed changes to the writing, it may be helpful to just make sure you get those to Dan, and he can prepare a red line that could actually go up on the screen so that everyone in the room can also see in writing what the changes being proposed are, either, cross-outs, underlines, additions, and, that way everyone's on the same page about what's being discussed.
Thank you, Katie. So let's say this, since Dan needs to review this, let's say that any changes by end of business Monday. Because then that will go to Dan for a review.
Next Monday?
What date is that?
Which
I don't
day?
have my calendar in front of me.
What day would that be?
The 9th? Any changes to the rules of procedure, have them to Ashley and Dan, and of course the board by close of business on Monday the 9th. Ashley, you got that? All right, and then that gives Dan the entire
Week.
day of Tuesday to review them, and then Ashley will have that to go into the packet
Sounds good.
on Wednesday. Katie, is that good?
Yes, that'll be good. Thank you all.
Okay. I knew she was here for a reason.
All right, what's-
Knew it.
all right, what's on
All right. Next up is the discussion of the status of bylaws of current committees. No attachments. Who wants this?
Put that on there.
That was me. So this was just to present an opportunity to give you guys the status that right now we're going through the process of reviewing all of the bylaws of the committees, and we have sent them to the committee chairs and have copied you individually with your committees. And so we've given them an opportunity to review them, and we thought that this was prudent since we knew that there was conversations happening with the rules and procedures at the same time. And so since I've been here, only the Cultural Arts and Economic Development Committee, and Homelessness had been created. So we figured this was a good time to kind of look at all of the committee bylaws at the same time. So I can't remember off the top of my head the deadline that I gave them, but we expect to have that to you guys sometime in April with all of the bylaws that have been revised at the latest. Some have already come in already. So as I receive them, I'll add them to the agenda for you guys' final approval, but this was just meant to be an update.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. While we're talking about committees, there's been some discussion about committee chairs briefing their committees. I sent out an email of a proposal to the board for consideration, that the chairs present their committees' briefings at the second meeting. Those are internal. The external committees, which we all serve on, we would brief ours like tonight at the first meeting. So or it's either that or we package them all together at the end of the meeting, and then that takes a lot of time.
Mayor, the committee serve at your pleasure, so if that's the way you want it, just call it.
That's the way, I think for timing, I think that's the better way to be more effective and efficient.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind me add. Now, last time I served as a commissioner, and even when I served as head of committee, we had where the committee chairs briefed every quarter, and then we did the briefings in between, which I mean, that way they was required to give us a quarterly report at the same time.
Well, I think one of the discussion points were the committee chairs would brief every other month. So 1 month, there would be no briefings. The following month, there would be the external committee meetings, briefings by the board, and then the second meeting would be by the chairs.
So that can serve as the quarterly.
Yes. So it would be every other month, not every month.
Yeah, that'll work then.
So That is one of the recommended changes that I provided in that tab, that it would be every other month at the second meeting of that month that the actual chairs would come. And this just would allow for scheduling, so that way they would know which months and which meetings that they were supposed to be here. So if you look under that tab, that's included in the recommended updates to be included in the rules of procedure.
Another reason, Ms. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Another reason why we did that back then, so that that the town could take and post that information, so that any citizen that want to know about the veterans or this committee, they can go there, pull up their quarterly report, and everything they accomplished and done was there available for them.
So actually, every other month, the first meeting will be the external, which is the board, like tonight. The second meeting will be the internal, and the chairs will brief their committees. So now, with that said, I want to make, there's another consideration that if we're going to have committee chairs brief their committees, I would say not to put them at the end of the agenda, but move them up in the agenda, up under board comments.
That's what it used to be.
Put them right there. Would the board support that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because I know that's a change too, actually. We'll move them right up. That way the chairs can come in right after board comments, they'll present their committees, and then if they choose to stay for the remainder of the meeting, they can. They don't have to wait till the very end of the meeting, because we could add in a closed session or something, and our meetings could become long.
What area on the agenda are you talking about placing them?
Right up under, wait a minute. I think I put my cover under there.
Okay.
They would be item number 3, before presentations.
Okay, that'll work.
Actually, they'd be item number 3. Presentations would be item number 4.
And just for clarity, because we said a lot of things, we're saying the second meeting every month or every other month?
Every other month.
Every other, okay.
Every other month. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay, that's it for item B. We're going back to item 8, old business. As usual, none. We conduct everything we have so far. New business, all right. That's under item 9A, consideration and approval of strategic plan final invoice and corresponding budget amendment number 21 in the amount of $22,275. That's under tab 9. Retiree Drew Holland will be briefing the board on this.
Not retired yet.
Almost.
You got me 2 more months. Through the end of April. I appreciate the recognition earlier. That was nice. But yeah, you still have me for 2 more months. What we have here is the final invoice for the strategic plan has come in. We did not have sufficient funds to cover that for this current budget year, not knowing how much it would be until the invoice actually came in. So we have budget amendment number 21 to cover that amount for $22,275. The strategic plan is complete. It's very good. Y'all have seen it. It's been presented to you, and we're putting it into action as we speak. So I just need a budget amendment approved.
Any questions from the board?
I have questions.
Commissioner Hamilton.
What I see in here, and it just kind of concerns me, is, excuse me, it's this one.
Okay.
It's tab 9. Tab 9.
Contract?
Yeah, the contract. Is this an open-ended contract?
Yeah, when the contract was approved, they did not put a specific amount or a not to exceed number. I know you had asked about that, and it didn't even have a particular start date or end date.
Right, and that's what concerns me about this, because
But it was approved, so that's what we have to use.
exactly, and that's not my point. I mean, they approved it, and that's it. But I feel this kind of leaves the town open for whatever they want to do. Not saying that they would, but I think it's kind of a liability for the town. Like I said, there's no start date, there's no end date, around $85,000. And this is a legal contract. There's a lot of things in here that that I don't really agree with because I've read through it pretty well. And you said this is the final invoice. Is there more coming? Or
No, this is the final. There will be no more invoices.
So then we haven't terminated the agreement.
Well, it ended with the presentation of the final strategic plan.
Okay, well, I didn't see that in, the only thing that I saw was the termination, number 5. It says either party may terminate this agreement at any time with or
Okay.
without cause. So,
Yeah, but that'd be during the process, but the process
Okay.
has been completed now, yeah.
so we don't need to do a termination then? Or is it done?
Not once the process is completed.
Okay, so they, I mean, it's in writing that the process is completed then. So
I don't know that it's in writing, but it's definitely understood.
Do we need to have it in writing?
I will add the delivery of the strategic plan is the completion of the contract. In typical contract language, you don't have termination clauses. You just have the delivery of what the contract outlines. Thank you.
And it was adopted by the board so that once the board adopted and accepted the strategic plan, that concludes and terminates the project.
Okay, I didn't know the process for that.
I explained it better than I did.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask that we terminate this, and if we needed to do another one, we would do another contract with specific details in it instead of
Right.
the engagement agreement, so, so we're done with this, then there's no more.
Nope, this is it.
Okay, all right, good.
Do I have an
Thank you.
action?
Mayor, I got a few questions.
Okay.
So refresh my memory, what was the date that the plan was presented and we approved it? What was that date? Can anybody tell me?
It was October 20th of last year, and then the final time that she was here was October 21st when we had a department retreat at Camp Rockfish. So the last invoice, now it did come in quite late, but if you notice, the last invoice
Here's
that
what
was...
I'm saying, I didn't mean to cut you off, but before I lose my train of thought here, everybody's telling me that the end of the contract is when the final plan's submitted and we accept it, right? And then we get, several months later, we get 2 final invoices for $22,275. So,
But if you look at the dates of when the work was performed, it's prior to that amount.
And I will,
why did it come so late? So my thing is, the board approved an estimate of around $85,000. So if that was gonna balloon to $95,335, why didn't somebody come back to this board before now and say, hey, your $85,000 that you estimated that this is gonna cost is now gonna cost you $95,000, which is 10,000 rough math. And then we received the invoices so far after the final reading of it and that the board accepted it. And what you just said and what the manager just said was when we get the final reading of it and we vote to accept it, that contract ends. Now, I can go back and backdate you all the stuff you want for when the work was done and everything. It was thorough. I'm not complaining about it, but I just think that we're fixing to give $22,275 for absolutely nothing, which is $10,000 more than what we estimated for this contract to be. Now,
Well,
none of the other board members was here to back me up on that. The mayor was here. So I understand contracts and contractually, I guess I don't know if the attorney can chime in on this, but if you're sitting here telling me that it ended when she presented it, the final draft, she presented it, that you're telling me that that contract ended when that happens, and then, so can you help me understand?
when I say the contract ends, that we still have to pay for the services that were rendered up until the delivery of the product.
They didn't
And so,
know these invoices was coming till months later? Like, I go back and say, I need some more money.
I too had some issues when we went through and we looked at the dates and times of the actual invoices and the services rendered. What I'll say is, again, the contract ends in terms of her working on the strategic plan once it's delivered. If we're getting invoices for work she did prior to the delivery of that product, we still have to actually pay for that. Now, I do agree that there was some concerns in how late the invoices came in. And so I had the town clerk, our procurement officer, and our finance director go through each line item for the invoices, and all of them, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, they were all dated prior to the actual delivery of the actual strategic plan. So when I say that the contract is over once the product is delivered, we still have to pay for any services that we haven't paid for prior to the delivery of that product.
Mr. Mayor. I guess the question
Marley, are you finished?
I guess my final question, I'll let Grilly ask his, I'm gonna put the manager on the spot. So you as my town manager, and I trust you, you're telling me that the town's good to pay this?
I'm telling you that I raised the same issues, and when we looked through each line item by line item with 3 additional staff members, we looked at to make sure there were no duplication of invoices. We looked to make sure that we knew the date, time of each one of these invoices. We got to remember too, when opening day, we talked about opening day last year, opening day in April. She's out there for about 5 hours, 6 hours, manning a booth, getting a survey done. So every time an attorney, and I talked to Dan about this as well, every time they come here, if it's tied to a service they're doing, we may not think that if she's just sitting here doing some type of briefing update, that is still tied to her doing something tied to the contract for the strategic plan. I do think that those things can add up over time, but I will say for the record, I had some of those same reservations as well. We looked through a lot of it, and what I was brought back told me that there were things that we ultimately needed to pay for because they were tied to services rendered prior to the completion of or the delivery of the actual strategic plan. But I do understand your question.
So what you're telling me is, you're telling me, and I trust your judgment. If you say pay it, we'll pay it. I'll pay it. I'll vote to pay it. But if you say no, I ain't. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I don't mean to.
Put me on the spot. My recommendation, based on the research that we conducted, that this is something that we need to cover and pay. That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Mitchell?
I think you kind of answered my question because my question was going to be what triggered the additional costs. But when you said that she was out there, there was additional uncontractual hours. That was the trigger right there, and that explains it's self-explanatory then.
I have one more thing, if I could.
Commissioner Hamilton?
I think what happened, from what I'm seeing, is the town kind of left theirself open with this, saying around 85,000. So there was no not to exceed amount. There was no start date. There was no end date. So we were left open to whatever they wanted to do. And if they provide the service, then we have to pay.
Exactly.
So we don't have a choice in the matter.
So going forward, contracts for this type of matter should have either an exact amount or a not to exceed.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. If this wasn't over, I would recommend we terminate this. And if we were going to continue with them, redo a contract with the not to exceed start date, end date, everything that should go into a contract.
I will echo again, typically a contract would have not to exceed. This contract had the actual billable hours that she was charging per hour. And I will say this for the record. Every time Ashley Anderson came to Hope Mills, it was by request.
Okay.
Every single time she came here, it was when we requested her to come here. If you look at the date of the invoice, it was recent. If you look at the dates of the services that were rendered, they were all prior to the delivery of the actual product. Did we get the invoices late? Yes. Did I like it? No. But when we looked at the product that was done and the date that the services were rendered, that's when I backed off and said, we have to actually pay this because this is work we requested to be done, and the invoices reflect that.
Exactly. But I would really feel more comfortable if we officially terminated them. Like Commissioner Marley said, we don't want them to come back and say, hey, we
There's something else.
Exactly. So I would feel a little bit more comfortable if we officially terminated this with them.
Wouldn't the memorandum meet that
Y'all want
requirement?
to vote as a council to officially
Want
do
to make that as a
Okay.
motion, Commissioner
Yes,
Hamilton?
Yes, Mayor, please.
Second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So what does that mean?
So the motion is going to be what?
The motion will be to officially terminate the contract or the agreement with Sand Anderson for the services.
just,
Right, so there's no more.
I have to, we have to make sure we're speaking in language tied to contracts.
Right.
There is nothing tied to a termination of a contract when we execute a contract for a consultant to provide a service. Like, for instance, Beth Brown is doing a contract for household hazardous waste. When they come on that date and they collect the items, there's nothing else to do. So if we're making this act, we're also setting a precedent that every single contract we execute, we have to formally terminate it. I do want to caution against that.
Katie, would you weigh in?
yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yes. So I will echo that caution. I will say that I think that a contract for services is a little bit different from a lot of the contracts that you're accustomed to having come before you, especially like, for example, construction contracts, where, you know, statute and grant rules and so forth govern exactly how that's carried out and timeframes and so forth. You know, Sands Anderson is a law firm, and so they have to follow the rules of professional conduct. They're not allowed to charge you for anything that they haven't done. And ethically, they should only be doing work that's necessary to the project, and that is part of your overall engagement for the project. I will also note that if some big question comes up about the strategic plan down the road that you wanted to ask them, and you have terminated the contract and cut off all authorization for staff to confer with them, you might run into some problems down the road that way too. And so I would caution you perhaps to,
Right, but I was going by what this said at the bottom was termination, where it said either party may terminate at any time with or without cause.
Right.
That's what I was going by.
right, and so those provisions are very important. Say they showed up for the first meeting and stopped doing work, like you would want to terminate the contract and hire a new firm. And so those are generally intended for during the performance of the agreement. It gives you, as a board, an option to just by majority vote, be like, these folks are not doing their job, we want someone else. And so I think that there is a lot of valuable input that we're receiving from the board today about what you want to see in future contracts that I will take back to Dan Hartzog. And, you know, thank you so much for sharing that. We'll definitely take it, you know, into consideration in further reviews.
Thank you, Katie. I need to take this motion off the board.
I'll rescind the motion.
Okay, and the second?
Second that.
Okay, the motion has been rescinded along with the second. Discussion back to Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just had a question. I'm looking at the invoices, and the one for $10,612.50 is dated September 23rd, 2025. Are you saying you just now got this?
Let me look at it. Can you say your question a little bit louder?
So one of the invoices that's looking like that's making the total of the $22,275 is an invoice for $10,612.50.
Yes.
And it's dated September 23rd, 2025 for services that were rendered August 31st, 2025. Are you just now receiving this September invoice?
We received it at the same time we received the November one. I don't know why it was dated September 23rd and we didn't receive it until the other one. Actually, the other one's dated November. We didn't get these until sometime in January. Yeah. Because I was waiting for them so I could get them on the agenda.
Yeah, but if you look at the work dates, they're different.
The work dates correspond when the actual work was done.
They
The invoice
correspond with
dates
the
do not
timeline.
correspond to when we received them.
Commissioner Tremmel?
This is just an educational question for now and the future with any kind of agreements like this if we're not going to do them, but I still want to know. It has the pre-audited statement on there. We learned in our Essentials of Municipal Government, a pre-audited statement is basically saying the money is in the fund, it's budgeted and all that. So with this being around $85,000, was there a line item for this? Was it approved by the former board
Yeah,
and
so
left a
when-
line item, or is it just all coming from
Yeah, I
general?
can talk about that. When we first did last year's budget, we did not have a strategic plan in that budget. It came up as a topic where the mayor brought it up at one of the meetings. possibly in September, August or September, hey, we never finished that original strategic plan that we started back before the pandemic. He said, let's get that started back again. He directed myself and the manager to get that going. We started that process mid-year. We did have some funds in contract services that weren't tied to a specific thing. We'd use some of those for the grant writer that we had, and we used some of it to start the process for the strategic plan. We did not have enough, however, to complete it. So there was the budget amendment that I mentioned in here last August that took care of everything that we needed for last year's budget. Not knowing what the final invoice was going to be, we don't have enough money in this year's budget to cover it. So this budget amendment is covering the final invoice.
Is that a best practice going forward that
Yeah,
we don't know those things and maybe we should?
Well, for something that's added mid-year,
Okay.
you know, if you do the periodic, that's saying funds are available. So funds are available through a budget amendment that we have to do once we know the actual cost. Now, if they had given us, if the contract had an actual amount, say the 85,000 was a not to exceed number in the contract, I could have done the budget amendment with the contract because we would have known what that amount was. But since it was open-ended, I didn't know. We only had the estimate that was thrown out. It'll be give or take around this amount.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Trimble. Commissioner Marley?
I'm good. Town manager answered my question.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna tell you, when I first saw these invoices, and there's some people in this room that know, I was so livid that I think I threw them against the wall. I was that angry. I was. I really was. It's that the services were done prior to October 21st, and now in January, we get these invoices. Why? That was the first question I asked. Why? And I looked at every one of these invoices looking for, did everything occur under the timeline? I even had Ashley put together a timeline to make sure that everything fit. But at the end of the day, the question that really got me was, why did we get these so late? That's the question. Why did we get them so late? Did we have to pay it? Yeah, we do. We do. Dan looked at this contract too.
We have to pay it.
We have to pay it. But nonetheless, it was the lateness in getting this. And I know that each one of the board members wasn't here when we did this, because I was with the former board along with Commissioner Marley. But we did not anticipate, did we, Commissioner Marley? We did not anticipate these invoices coming in at the change of boards in December when we changed out boards. We had no idea that this was just sitting out there. We really didn't. And that's the honest truth. And so I just want folks to know that. Now, lessons learned, you bet. You learn from it, as long as we don't repeat it again, which we won't. But we learned from this one.
Mayor, before you move forward, I would like to, I guess, reiterate that moving forward, some of the things that we can learn from this is that the contracts do need to have a specific amount.
They will.
But I did, I'm going to let Katie confirm that I did ask her to chime in to see if the language in future contracts can include verbiage that requires the invoices for services rendered to be submitted within a certain time frame of that actual service being rendered. But I'll let her talk to see if we can do that legally.
Yes, it's a pretty standard term to require that an invoice for services be submitted within 30 days of the end date of whatever that period is. There are companies and towns that will have provisions in their contracts saying that invoices submitted within a certain number of days, 90, some very, like insurance companies like to say 60, but that the services will not be paid for if, for any services that are invoiced, for example, more than 90 days after the service is rendered. And so those are provisions that we can add to the contracts. Like that's something where the town will see pushback from vendors, but they're very valuable for this very reason.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Do we have an action?
I got
Oh,
some.
one more?
And I'll have an action here, but, you know, I understand everything, and thank you, Drew. I think the company did an outstanding job. They were very thorough in what they did, the product that they provided. I have no problem with that. I had a problem with the optics of it. I think everybody else did. But, you know, almost against my better judgment, I'm going to go with my manager's recommendation, and I'll make a motion that this board approve budget amendment number 21 for 22,275.
Have a motion to have a second?
I second that.
There will be no further discussion, as we've discussed this already for quite some time. All in favor? Up? Okay. Seeing none opposed, motion carries. I was slow looking. Item B, consideration approval of replacing police fleet vehicle number 169 of and corresponding budget amendment number 22 in the amount of $18,350. That's under tab 10. Are you still with us, Drew?
I'll start it. Yes, this is replacing one of the police vehicles. The agreement we have with Enterprise, even though we lease all the vehicles now, if they add a certain amount of equipment to that vehicle, once it goes over a certain percentage of that cost of that vehicle, we have to pay for the extra equipment outright. Last year, they gave us a deal where they included it in the lease. They said they cannot do that for us this year because it's actually against their policy. So any new vehicle we get, once the total amount goes above that threshold, we have to purchase it outright. It cannot be part of the lease. So if you've got specific questions about the vehicle or that sort of thing, the chief can answer those.
Okay. Board members, any questions for the chief?
Motion to approve, oh, I'm sorry.
Just one question.
Wait a minute. Commissioner
Just one
Mitchell has
question.
one.
With that new information provided, is it possible we need to begin to start looking at other alternatives, or if that's the only option we will have?
It's really the only option. In this case, the vehicle was a very old
Not for this particular one, but for future reference.
But the reason why this is a concern now is because the vehicle that was crashed was an extremely old Ford Taurus. So the insurance company only gave us a short amount of money for it, which didn't meet for the new one.
Makes sense.
That's a large part of why this budget amendment is in the amount that it is, because we got very little for the old Ford Taurus. Yeah, that's what happens. Depreciation, right, Drew? Yeah. Okay. Do I have an action?
Motion to approve budget amendment number 22 for 18,350.
Second? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. All right, both of them are approved. Last item under new business. This is item C, consideration approval of a storage location for the homelessness committee. There are no attachments. Commissioner Hamilton, you're the liaison, so you take the lead.
Okay, this kind of started, I was here at Town Hall and met with Deanna and Miss Connie, and we were talking about the storage area. And I looked in the storage area. We're not the only ones. The Homelessness Committee is not the only committee that has storage in that room. So I went down and I talked to the town manager and I asked him about it. I thought it was a permanent room that we could use, and he said, no, it was temporary storage. And then I realized that they had also had goods stored over at the Alms House, and I didn't know that, and the Homelessness Committee.
No.
Are they going to?
No.
That's what I understood, and that was a conversation that we had about it. But now we don't have a storage area. There's no place to put it. If some of these the people on the committee are out all hours of the day and night, so we need an area where they can go to and get supplies without having to bother anybody. Like coming in Town Hall or another building, it's just not going to work unless we have an area that they can access any time of the day or night. And that's what we're going to have. They have some of these guys running around with their backs, the back of their vehicles full of tents, clothes, food, and we can't expect them to do that. That's their personal vehicles. So I'd like to have a storage area for them to store all of their goods that they can access anytime they need to. Like for the pit count, they were out there. I don't know if they were supplying people during the pit count, but they were out there in shifts doing that kind of work. So if they need to get something from an area to supply this with people, when it's cold with blankets and the things that these people need, they need to be able to access an area irregardless of what time of the day or night it is.
Commissioner Hamilton, thank you. Would you like to recognize members, especially your chair
Yes.
of this committee, to brief the board?
Yes, Deanna Royal, would you like to come up and brief?
Okay, only because today there's some new insight as to what we may do as far as storage. We're working on building a partnership with our local faith-based partners who are going to provide us a space as well as kitchen space that we will be able to cook from. There is no cost for this. It's a community partnership. And so we're working on building that out right now. So there's no money that's going to come from the budget that will go towards the storage of our supplies. I also secured a contract with Amazon for donations this week. So it's very imperative that we get on it, and I'm working towards that now.
I have a question. It's brought up, of course, that we're feeding people, or you all feeding people in Fayetteville. Is that coming out of your own pocket?
Oh, I'd be happy to clarify that for you.
Would you please?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're dealing with a budget like this, or at least for me as the chair, I am never going to take money from our budget for food to feed anyone. Those are all going to be donation items and things that we seek from our community partners. So to say or think that any amount of money from our budget was placed towards feeding someone not directly in our MIA is against our bylaws, and I wrote them, so I know.
Okay.
However, I will say, I, as the chair, have absolutely no problem with any members of the committee feeding anyone who may need service that's in Cumberland County with any of the resources that we get that are donated. As long as the money doesn't come from my budget, I don't care.
Okay. And I'd like to, I guess, I'm in a group chat with some of the committee members, and this is what Ms. Connie did today with the food for providing lunch for these people. Would you like to address that, Connie, Ms. Connie? Would you please come up?
My name is Connie Parker. I've been a resident here at Hope Mills for 16 years. I've been a resident for Hope Mills for 16 years. My church has a committee for homeless that I've been sitting on and been serving for 5 years. And we've been serving Hope Mills, Fayetteville. They don't matter, because homeless is everywhere. It's not just Hope Mills. So my church is in Sampson County, and they service Cumberland County, because I could tell all the people in Fayetteville, Hope Mills got money. They'll pick up their tents and come here if you want them to, and then they'll be Hope Mills. So what my church did is they fed. Hope Mills gave me no money. I got 2 turkeys, and I served the people. We have people that they need more than food. They need shelter. As an advisor, I advise the committee to take some of the money to do for when it's cold, to put them in hotels, to give them cars for washing their clothes, to give them cars for transportation. I set up a thing for them to go to work, where they can work every day, get paid every day, and talk to my chairperson, and that's when she asked for the storage, because I started getting clothes, because the clothes that we give out for every day is not the clothes that they can wear to an interview. So we wanted a room to put the clothes and put the food, because I was getting so much stuff. I feed 3 times a week, and none of the money or food comes from Hope Mills. It comes from my church family and stuff. We serve food at our church every Sunday, so I get all the leftovers. And yes, it might be 16, 20 people, but that's why I started doing intakes to let you know that they are homeless in Hope Mills. As soon as I find them and tell somebody, they get ran away. From my last meeting till when I got the certificate, until today. 3 of them are gone. They disappear, you know, they interrupt the camps and stuff, so then I can't find them. And then some of them are moving so deep in the woods that y'all don't see them. So that's why I have 10 intake forms and collected 4 today, and they are in Hope Mills and stuff. They're just moving around daily. You know, they're staying in dumpsters, they're staying in porta potties, some are everywhere. So Hope Mills is not giving me no money to feed 3 times a week. I do sit on a committee, but I sit on other committee for homeless that's been giving me stuff. I have so many clothes, tubs and tubs of clothes, suits, dresses, shoes. I get food twice a week from our churches, and then other people call and donate food to me. And we cook it at our church and stuff. And then I bring it back here and serve it and stuff. So I would like to do a lot of stuff with the money to help them so they won't be homeless, so they can be a resident. That's why on the back of my form it says, tell me why you're homeless. And they write a statement. Mr. Gurley inspired me to do the intake form so we can see, you know, where they at, where they came from, how long they been there and stuff. So I do apologize that your storage got taken away, and I wish they give it back to them. But that's all.
Thank you, Connie. Ms. Carlene, would you like to come up?
I would. So Connie and I work very closely together, and I'm also out there 2 to 3 times a week feeding, because just as we like to eat 2 to 3 times a week, we figure that the homeless should have that same opportunity. So we do feed people here in Hope Mills. I personally referred somebody to Grilly on Friday who had been sleeping in the gazebo by the lake and has been told he had to leave. He wants housing. And I can go and touch 4 other individuals within the Hope Mills city limits who would like housing as well. Just so we have that straight. And in regard to the Thanksgiving meals that were prepared and the supplies that were picked up in Raleigh,
You have to address the board. You can't turn
I
around.
went to Raleigh to pick up.
You gotta turn around.
Have to address the board.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter.
I'm talking to everybody. I went and picked up quilts and blankets.
Get together.
That,
Carlene.
Carlene, you have to
You
All
can't
right.
address that.
I went and picked up quilts, blankets, coats, gloves, hats, because Snowmageddon was about to descend upon us. There was nowhere in Hope Mills. There was no shelter in Hope Mills. We did finally get admission, our information maybe 2 days before it hit. I was out 5 of the 7 days before it hit, taking things to people, frail people, elderly people, disabled people, and all of that out of my pocket. The Thanksgiving meals that were taken to the transition home in Grays Creek, out of my pocket. Not a dime has been taken from Hope Mills committee money. Not one canned good for the ones that I feed has been taken from the donations given from the Hope Mills area. So that's something we're committed to. We've been doing, we just happen to sit on the board because we feel committed. And it's not a competition. I'm not in competition with Grilly. I want to work beside him. I am not in competition with Fayetteville Care Center. I'd love to figure out a way. I have driven people to the Fayetteville Care Center so they could get a shower, so they could wash their clothes. I have taken people up to see Mr. Grilly, and you know I have, to get food, and they do wonderful work. But their hours are limited. They're not open. They're 7 days a week, thank God. And people get one good hot meal, but like I said, some of us like to eat more than once a day. So it's not a competition. We're not looking to cheat anybody. We're not looking to pad anybody's donations. We're out to take care of our fellow Hope Mills residents. And if it has to come out of our pocket, which from the inception of this committee, which I believe is just about a year and a half now, it has come out of our own pocket.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry, I just wanted to chime in about the budget. I can confirm that the Homelessness Committee has 93.4% of their budget for this fiscal cycle still in their account.
Oh, I didn't question
Not a
that at
penny
all.
to us.
I didn't question
Not
that
a
at all.
penny into the mouths of the people that we have fed, or the ones that we gave blankets to, or
Thank you, Ashley.
socks to, or hats to. Not a penny.
We're good.
So I just wanted that to be very clear on the record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay,
Carlene.
to wrap
Thank
this
you,
up,
ladies.
Deanna, did you find storage?
So some,
Keep me informed, please. Okay, thank you.
When is the next meeting for your committee?
The 10th, I believe. Yeah, the 10th.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
I just want to say something about homelessness. I categorize homelessness. Individuals are homeless because some choose to be homeless, and they say, "What?" I had this conversation this past weekend, and I said, I asked the individuals down at domicile, I say, "Do we have a homeless problem in Hope Mills?" They looked, they said, "Yeah." I'll say, "So tell me who's out there homeless by force?" They said, "What do you mean?" I got my drug addicts. I have my alcoholics. They are out there by choice, and I deal with them. Let me tell you why. They taught me this. They say, "Mr. Grilly, if I don't come to you and tell you that I want help, don't waste your time." This time of year is my transient people. I know every homeless person that I have been dealing with for the last 15 plus years. This time of year, I'm telling you now, how it's heavily transient. I have made space available. Did you know that we give clothes to anybody that need clothes to come in for a job interview? We make that happen. Did you know that if somebody come to me and say, "I'm homeless and I want to get home," we buy them a bus ticket, we send them home? So a lot of folks don't know. We do those things. So our goal is to help them become unhomeless, not to enlabel them. And that's the objective. And I think that collaboration and working together collectively in the community, we can reduce, control, and you're not going to be able to prevent it, because I know at least 6 right now that are homeless by choice. And they would tell you, "I got a tent, I got the space, I love it here." And they refuse to come to me when it get real cold to come in and get warm. They don't want it. They say, "I'm okay in my tent." And Hope Mills, and I will say we have food insecurities, we have mismanagement of funds, and most of all, we have a lot of mental conditions. Those are the individuals I'm focusing on. I got an individual in the hospital right now that I'm working and checking on. And of course, individuals that's been incarcerated. So those individuals that I'm focused on, working on, I work with the system to try to find these individuals places to get them unhomeless. And that's our objective. Thank you.
You do a fine job. I wanted to say one more thing. You do a great job. But again, you're not there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're one man. You're one organization. It is not a competition. It should be a collaboration. And if we have one homeless person in Hope Mills, that's one too many. And we know we're not going to eradicate homelessness, but we also know that we have an obligation to do what we can. And I can probably bring to you, and I'm going to make a concerted effort to bring to either you or the COC down in Fayetteville Care, the 4 people that want a home.
Thank you very much. Any one of us in this room can be homeless.
Right, one paycheck.
Homelessness is in every community. I don't care if the community has 100 residents or 300,000 residents. I've known veterans who are homeless by choice. And those of us veterans know that they choose, they'll take the resources, and that's what's really missing is a resource center. That's what's really missing in communities is a resource center, a warming station, and a white flag facility. And that's one thing, Chancellor knows this, that's one thing that garnered some discussion at the county level with these past storms. Now going forward, I'm hoping that there'll be some more discussion about that but it's the resource center that you don't need a hand out, you need a hand up. And that's all that folks are asking for is resources. That's all that, and you could really see this when the collapse of the Salvation Army building. That was really something there. So I'm just going to end there. God bless every one of you that takes care of homeless people every day. God bless what you do for our community. All right, Commissioner Hamilton, is that it from your committee? That's all I have. That's all you have. Liaison reports, we're finally there. Commissioner Marley.
I was not at the last meeting. The town manager was there, and I've asked him to speak on it if he would.
I will speak to the last RULAC meeting, and a lot of people that don't know what that is, it's the Regional Land Use Committee tied to operations in Fort Bragg. And so it's done from a planning standpoint, so that if there's any activity in any municipality that could positively or negatively impact Fort Bragg operations, we discuss it at RULAC. And so the last RULAC meeting that was at, I think Grilly used to be the liaison. I think Mayor used to be one at one time, but RULAC is something that's personal to me because I get to serve with my dad. So my dad is an elected official in Wagham, North Carolina, and he is the actual previous chair of RULAC. And so every time I go to the meetings, I get to sit with my pops. But there are things that there was nothing really impactful at the last RULAC meeting. I can send an update to the board officially in writing, but it was held at the Spring Lake Town Hall. Mayor Kia Anthony is the current chair, and so they do move them around every 4 months. I'm trying to get one that'll be held here in Hope Mills. I don't know if have we ever held a RULAC meeting here?
We had one.
Okay. So I've been talking to Mayor Anthony about having the next one here. We do rotate the Mayor's Coalition. We had one here as well, so we're trying to do the same thing with RULAC because we do have a large veteran population. But again, the main purpose of RULAC is if we're doing some planning or development operations that could impact Fort Bragg, those things are discussed at that particular meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. The last meeting we had, we didn't have a quorum. People were working or out of town. We did chat a little bit about some of the things we were talking about tonight, about feeding people, the things that they had available to distribute. We discussed the pit count a little bit, and I got some information that I passed along to the COC meeting that I just went to. So I think probably everything that we talked about tonight is pretty much what's been going on with the Homelessness Committee. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm on the Prime Movers Committee as well as the Culture, Arts, and FAMPO. So the Prime Movers, I'm very pleased to be on that. It's an upward and progressive committee. I'm learning a lot and engaging with them. They were here at the last meeting and excited to share that they have launched their scholarship application. It is on the town's website, so please, if you have a high school student in the Hope Mills area could benefit from that scholarship, please utilize it. They are also having some great plans for Women's History Month and collaborating with Arts and with the Culture Arts Committee and placing signs around the lake and walking areas highlighting and recognizing women of history. The Arts and Culture Committee, Culture Arts Committee also have great upcoming projects to include kiddos. They're planning an outstanding project with kiddos with special needs, so that's going to be something that's going to be great. And they will also be working with the summer camp with Park and Rec and the, what's the committee? The actors. What are they called? Artist Village, yes. So Artist Village, yes as well. But the biggest thing is the mural that we're looking forward to. They would showcase the past, present, and the future of the town of Hope Mills to bring awareness and all that the mural will display. And hopefully the Culture Arts Committee will be included in the grants that Ingrid can help find to fund this project, which is also a project that's near and dear to the heart of our previous Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. Kenwana McCray. Also, I'm on the TAC committee with FAMPO, and I had an opportunity to meet with the director of FAMPO. I'm looking forward to learning more about the direction and progression of transportation that will benefit our town, community, and our seniors. And thank you very much for allowing me to be on these excellent committees and the liaisons.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Last one's me. Mayor's Coalition, we met in Falcon, the Cumberland County Mayor's Coalition, that is. We met in Falcon on February 6th. It was a pretty well-attended meeting. Economic development update from Mr. Rob Patton. The garrison commander, Colonel Mixon, and Sergeant Major Scott provided an update on what's happening at Fort Bragg. One of the main speakers was Dr. Soles, president of Fayetteville Technical Community College, talking about one of my favorite words, partnerships. So that was a very inspirational, actually it was a briefing. And then we had a roundtable discussion, and our next meeting will be May 15th. That will be Cumberland County. And a particular note that the clerk of the Cumberland County Mayor's Coalition is sitting right over there, and that would be Ashley Wyatt. Yes. So not only does she serve the clerk for our town, she serves the Mayor's Coalition as well, and we meet quarterly. All right, next, Mid-Carolina Council of Government, that's coming up. There's a banquet in Dunn. I think it's March something. Yeah, with the awards that's coming up, the board probably should have seen that. One of the things that I'm a member of that's not on here, but I'm going to have Ashley add it, I'm a member of the North Carolina League of Municipalities Mayors Association. And we meet different times of the year. Our winter meeting was February 11th through 12th in Pinehurst. Now, I'm going to tell you about this. 135 of us was there. That's a pretty good amount of mayors across North Carolina, I guess, in one place. Mayor Coven was there. Mayor Anthony was there. And we had a really good opportunity to talk about partnerships. But one of the main things that I want to talk about, we had the legislative leader panel was there, and that was NC Senator Tom McGinnis, Representative Reeves and Pierce, talking about community projects and funding. Now, this was back in February, that when they get back into short session, which is April, that if we don't have our proposals ready, they have to have them right there when they go in for any opportunities for funding from the General Assembly. Now, there's no way we're going to submit 10, 16, $20 million worth of projects. We have to keep it concise, and we're going to have to keep it small. And I think we have identified a number of community projects that we will highlight and discuss again Friday at our retreat. That's one funding opportunity. We talked about sales tax distribution as well. And of course, Jennifer will tell you, Jennifer Day on Friday will tell you, I got up there and did what? Beg. Our main speaker was the state auditor, Dave Bullock. Did I pronounce his name right, Drew? I'm going to tell you what this guy stood there, and I'm going to tell you what he talked about. And then we're going to wrap it up. He talked about credit cards. He talked about procurement policies. He talked about internal financial policies, period. And the lack of oversight. Not in all municipalities, but he asked this fundamental question. Well, he's a guest speaker coming up at another event, too. He asked this fundamental question. How many of you in this audience have reviewed your internal policies? How many hands do you think went up? How many, and that was a fundamental question. How many of you have reviewed internal Because when he's called on the tip line, as he said, anonymously, people talk about many, many different things. The tip line. They throw mud on a wall and expect him to make it stick. But it was an interesting discussion of what gets municipalities in trouble. Now, I'm sitting there next to my good colleague from other municipalities, and there are some that are in a lot of trouble. But I just want to say that it was a lengthy conversation about policies. And no, my hand did not go up. Lastly, several of us went to the Essentials of Municipal Government, so I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. So, that's it. The rest of it's informational items about all the committee meetings that's coming up. Staff comments? None? I guess everybody just wants the adjournment, right?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in
right.
favor? We're done.